Young James Dolan awoke on Christmas Day to the greatest gift of all. There was basketball to play. Yes, the strike had finally ended. That bridge was finally crossed. While it was unclear who'd won the battle, the fans had clearly lost. But now all was forgotten. There was a nifty 66-game slate. LeBron, Kobe, Dirk, Dwayne. This was really gonna be great. Even better for young Jimmy, in pajamas neath a tree. His team, the New York Knickerbockers, were on national TV. Yes, it had been a mighty struggle, and now a dozen years down the trail, since the fall of Patrick Ewing, all the Knicks had done was fail. When it came to NBA playoffs, much like Jeff Van Gundy's hair, when you looked in the Knickerbocker official record book, there was simply nothing there. Since the fall of Lehman Brothers and the bailout of the banks, the whole city had been on a giant losing streak. Even LeBron had said, "No thanks." Yes, the mood this Christmas morning still was very much the same. The Knicks had gone over the decade. Not a single playoff game. But this year would be different, young James Dolan softly vowed. And instead of opening his Christmas presents, he began to pray out loud. "Please, basketball gods," begged Jimmy, "whoever you actually are, I'm just a humble New York team owner, not an NBA superstar. But our team needs help, oh basketball gods. Forgive me if this sounds lame, but is it really too much to ask to win one stinking playoff game?" At that point, a ghostly green light appeared alongside the old Yule tree. "Coach Holtzman?" Jimmy Dolan cried. "From 1973? The venerable Knicks coach put out a hand. "Hello there, Jim," he said. "I'm the ghost of Knickerbocker, basketball past, but you can call me Coach Red." "The ghost of Knick basketball past," Jimmy gasped. What could that possibly mean? "Relax," said the ghost. "I'm not here to haunt you. I'm here to wake up your team. Being a ghost is a lonely business, Jim. It's hard to get out to all the games. You see us up there hanging high in the rafters. Those legendary basketball names. Well, Russell, Olajuwon, Julius, Magic, and the rest. Oscar, Michael, Larry Bird. Oh, Jim. Those guys were the best. I come from a different era, Jim. This may be hard for you to understand. We might have worn some funny-looking shorts, Jim, but we never missed the open man." "I'm not gonna lie," said Jimmy, "and I hate to sound dramatic, but our team is simply killing itself out there, Coach. We're so reckless, stupid, and erratic. Can you show us how you did it, Coach? With DeBusschere, Willis, and Bradley? Can you give us a dose of that old-time religion? We're desperate. We need your help badly." "You ask a lot," Coach Red sighed. "But here's what I could say. Success, it's a simple formula, Jim. Just let the players play. If you keep a proper frame of mind, if you don't back off or get scared, if you stay away from turnovers, and make sure you're always prepared, you can win it all this year, Jim. Of that, I can make you a promise. There's only one thing I need to warn you about. Stay away from Isaiah Thomas."
Stay away from Isaiah Thomas.
"Stay away from Isaiah Thomas," thought Dolan. Now that was an odd thing to say. But before Jim could even ask what Red meant, Coach Holtzman had faded away. Was it all just a dream? Thought Jimmy. Or had the old coach actually been here? Did he actually say that the New York Knickerbockers could win it all this year? For though Miami had LeBron and the Lakers their Kobe fellow, New York now had its own secret weapon, a superstar by the name of Carmelo. In addition, the Knicks had Tyson Chandler, a tower of courage and strength, not to mention Sir Amari Stoudemire, a caballero of great ability and length. So why not us? Thought Jimmy to himself. Here's what you could not deny. The Knicks had all the right ingredients, so why not give it a try? And so the season began that day, with fanfare and much ballyhoo. The team went on to win a few games, but they also lost quite a few. Before very long, the pattern was set. The system was clearly sputtering. Carmelo, he was putting up shot after shot, while his teammates just stood there muttering. Amari, he tried his best to fit in, but it looked creaky down round by his knees, which caused folks to ask, had he somehow contracted a horrible case of the notorious Caucasian man's disease? And so one dark January night, before Jimmy went off to bed, he went down on his knees just one more time to summon the ghost of Coach Red. But this time a different figure appeared, a surprise that was decidedly pleasant. When Dolan found himself face to face with the ghost of Nick Basketball present. "Walt Clyde Frazier?" Jimmy cried. "Or may I call you Walt? I'm sorry about all this losing, sir. It's really not my fault." But Frazier saw things differently. It was all just a matter of timing. "Your team is dishing when it should be swishing," said Frazier, who was fond of rhyming. "Your team's just incoherent, man. Your team's just not a unit. Every time your team gathers momentum, you do something dumb to ruin it. Your team's just got no kishkas. Your team's just got no pluck. Your team routinely gets out-hustled and out-muscled. Your team's bereft of luck. Take it from a ghost who's seen it all, and I know you don't want to hear it. But your Knickerbocker team is simply fablungent, Mr. Dolan. You have lost your fighting spirit." "Lost our fighting spirit," said Dolan. "That sounds like a terrible condition. What would you do, Mr. Walt Clyde Frazier, if you found yourself in my position? Should I shake up the team, fire the coach? What should I decide? There must be some way out of this. You gotta help me here, Clyde." Jimmy Dolan," said Clyde, now clearly irked. "Snap out of it, man. Get a hold of yourself. You're acting like a neophyte jerk. The problem is you don't know the problem. The problem is you're scared. The problem is you're overwhelmed. The problem is you're underprepared. The problem is your team chemistry. The problem is your team system. The problem is your team took too many shots. The problem is you missed them. The problem is your point guard, Mr. Dolan. The problem is Coach D'Antoni. The problem is you're erratic when you should be emphatic. The problem is your team's nothing but a phony. The problem is you don't know the problem. But if you're serious about wanting to win, I offer you 2 simple words, Mr. Dolan. I present to you Jeremy Lin. Jeremy Lin? Thought Dolan. Was this some kind of cruel joke? But before Jim could ask, the ghost of Walt Clyde had vanished with a puff of green smoke. Jeremy Lin? That Asian kid? That spindly little Harvard brain? Jeremy Lin was going to save the Knicks season from flushing itself down the drain? But Clyde had been insistent. There seemed to be no doubt. So a few nights later, during garbage time when the Knickerbockers were getting blown out, as the team was going through the motions with virtually no chance to win, the coach looked down at the end of the bench and told Jeremy, "Kid, you're in." Now things began to get interesting. Or perhaps not, in a way. 'Cause though I'd like to report some remarkable occurrence, it was mostly an unremarkable day. From his box, Mr. Dolan watched anxiously as Lin maneuvered the floor. The kid could actually move a bit. Could he also play some defense and score? But if this game proved anything, it was that the Knickerbockers were going nowhere. So a few nights later against Chicago, the mood went from bad to despair. By that point, things looked bleak indeed for our hero from Palo Alto, Cal. Lin mostly sat at the end of the bench with Steve Novak, his bench warmer pal. On the next night, the Knicks lost to Boston. Had D'Antoni reached the end of his rope? If only the team had a real point guard, then perhaps there'd be reason to hope. But then on the following Saturday, against all reasonable bets, "Lin, get in there," D'Antoni barked in a humdrum game against the Nets. Well, this time almost immediately, you could tell that something had changed. As if in the firmament of professional basketball, the planets got suddenly rearranged. As Lin raced back and forth down the court, a low buzz filtered through the stands. Something remarkable was taking place tonight, just like D'Antoni had planned. The slumbering Knicks had awoken, which caused Walt Clyde to remark, "The Knicks have finally ignited, man, and Jeremy Lin is the spark. He whirls, he twirls, he drives, he thrives, he's quicker, he's smarter, he's faster. This dude is a basketball Leonardo da Vinci, a hoop-playing Jedi ninja master." And so Jeremy Lin led the brave charge, while the pundits awaited the flop. Sooner or later, Lin's improbable act would come to its probable stop. After all, the kid was from Harvard. He had no reputation, no name. There was no way this nobody could keep up this pace in a genuine NBA game. But peculiar things sometimes happen in the course of one basketball season. Sometimes the unthinkable becomes quite thinkable, defying all known forms of reason. And so by the end of the evening, at the sound of the fourth quarter horn, the Knicks had prevailed 99-92, and a brand new star had been born. "Jeremy!" They shouted their hero's name amid the post-game locker room buzz. Never mind that just a few hours earlier, they had no idea who he was. "Is it true you come from Harvard?" they asked. "Is it true you're exceptionally bright? Is it true you're not really such a good shooter and you were just lucky tonight?" The reporters kept asking questions. Lin did his best to reply. "I'm not a basketball hero," he explained. "I'm just an everyday, regular guy." "Is it true you were cut by the Rockets?" they asked, "and also by Golden State? Is it true the Knicks are the third NBA team that has employed you up to this date?" Uncomfortable with all the attention, Lin struggled to maintain humility. "I'm just trying to be a basketball player here, to the best of my natural ability." "Is it true you don't have a contract? Does that make you at all feel bitter? Is it true you sleep on your brother's living room sofa? That's what it tells us on Twitter." The reporters continued to query. Lin remained self-effacing and polite. "It was a good team effort," he modestly observed. "The team played together tonight." But the team playing together didn't quite cut it. The reporters, they needed a hook. Was it true Lin's father was a Chinese basketball nut who taught Lin to play from a book? Was it true Lin didn't get a single scholarship offer, either here or in a school overseas? And the reason was racism, pure and simple, on account of him being Taiwanese? Was it true he dominated the D-League, even though he'd been dissed in the draft?
All that matters is I'm playing now.
Some of the reporters laughed. On it went. Lin jammed against his locker room door. This hero no one had even known existed just a few hours before. And so for the next opponent, expectation now dramatically rose. When asked, "Will Lin be starting tonight?" D'Antoni replied,
"I suppose."
They gathered at the world's most famous arena, looking forward to Lin's second game. Could he sock another one out of the park, now that everyone was familiar with his name? And so it seemed all the more astounding as Lin took his place on the floor. He not only played fairly well in this game, he was doing even better than before. While Clyde was of course ecstatic at Lin's veritably scintillating play, Lin was not only moving and grooving, he was doing it all today. But in the end, this was no more than a warm-up for the ultimate challenge that ensued, for now the Lakers were coming to town, including that Kobe Bryant dude. Too bad, opined all the pundits. The end was now clearly at hand, as the pressure of facing Kobe et al. Was surely more than young Lin could withstand. But a funny thing happened that day on the way to certain defeat. It was Bryant and his band of superstar Lakers. They were the ones who got beat. The Garden went totally berserko. There was joy in Gotham tonight. Instead of getting canceled permanently, the Jeremy Lin show had reached a new height. And this joy was only a beginning, and this is where it gets sort of weird. As a feverish affliction known only as Linsanity now suddenly and spontaneously appeared. Yes, Linsanity, not a mystery cat, but a curious state of mind, an alternative basketball consciousness, previously undiscovered by any member of mankind. Linsanity, the symptoms of which couldn't have been more simple or plain. Basketball occupied all your waking thoughts until you finally went completely and totally insane. And so, like a thick woolen blanket, Linsanity gripped the land. Overnight, Jeremy Lin went from total non-entity to a bankable, bulletproof brand. The team, they kept on winning, though Carmelo and Amari were out. They faced off against the Dirks from Dallas and rolled over them in a rout. Against the Wizards of Washington, the team seemed lost in a funk, when suddenly there was Lin alone on a breakaway, which caused the fans to wonder, would he dunk? Could he dunk? Should he dunk? If he did, would it prove enough? Lin soon provided a definitive answer with one ginormously righteous stuff. The fans went wild and crazy, sick with delicious delight. Was there anything Jeremy Lin could not do on the basketball court on this night? In the following game against Toronto, with the team struggling mightily against the zone, missing shots, turning the ball over, getting torched by Jose Calderon, the Knicks fell way behind, but they kept working, struggling, straining, until down by 2 with just a few precious seconds still remaining, Lin took the ball, went left, right, crossing over, shake and bake, until just before the shot clock expired, he gave one final shiver fake. Then he launched a shot with a trajectory that preliminarily seemed on course. Had he given the ball enough backspin and applied the proper horizontal force? For a moment all eyes in the arena followed. All hearts pounded before they suddenly stopped. Were there doubters? I'm sure there were. But wouldn't you know, the darn thing dropped. On the clock after it was over, it still read a fraction of a second. It was the bomb that killed Toronto. It's a miracle, Walt Clyde reckoned. So how was Lin able to do it, they asked, to cultivate such winning behavior? Lin attributed it to a strong belief in team defense, in his coach, and a belief in a personal savior. Whatever it was working. With Amari and Carmelo on the shelf, Lin was the leader of a band of nobodies, but definitely not a nobody himself. And so the dream of James Dolan had now reached fever pitch. The Knicks were suddenly winners again. Dolan was getting rich. New York was on the rebound. The Garden was the place to be. It was time to forget about the Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs, and AIG. With the playoffs brightly looming and Linsanity steadily ascending, Dolan worried, could anything possibly derail this train and spoil what looked like a perfect ending? And so it was with trepidation one night before Dolan went off to bed. He decided to consult the basketball gods just one more time to assess things, looking ahead. But this time, instead of being able to summon Walt Clyde or Coach Red as his host, Dolan now found himself in the company of a surprise guest star, a decidedly different brand of ghost. Not that this gent wasn't courtly and charming, courteous and full of good cheer. "Isaiah Thomas!" cried Jimmy incredulously. "What are you doing here?"
Jimmy, it's me, Isaiah Thomas, your ghost of basketball future. I mean, really, Jimmy, who else did you expect?
"Weren't you coaching some team down in Florida?" Dolan asked, trying to gain some respect.
That, my friend, was purely temporary, scoffed Isaiah, just to keep me in the mix. The master plan is still in place, my friend. Get back to New York and the Knicks. You see, it's really not so complicated, Jim, as it might appear to you. Ultimately, the Knicks are still my team, and there's nothing about it you or anyone else can do.
"Still your team?" Jimmy gasped. "You're crazy, Isaiah. That's nuts. I fired your ass 5 years ago, pal. And I might add, it took some real guts."
Sure it did, said Ghost Isaiah. But it goes deeper than that, my friend. My bond with the Knicks is pure and unadulterated. It has no beginning or end. You see, some things are simply bigger than us, Jim. Some things are beyond our control. My connection to the Knicks, it's spiritual, Jim. They're an integral part of my soul.
"But what if we don't want you here, Isaiah? Pardon me for how this might sound. Your tenure here in New York, to tell the truth, was a flat-out dud. You ran the team into the ground. You gave millions to Starberry, Marbury, and even more for Eddie Curry to play. Both were complete disasters out there. We're still paying their salaries today."
Those, scoffed Isaiah, mere stumbling blocks, Jim. Speed bumps on our road to success. Like it or not, Jim, I'm part of your future. I can help you get out of this mess.
"Get out of this mess?"
cried Dolan.
Isaiah, don't you even know? The team is winning games right now. We just won our 7th in a row. Jeremy Lin is a phenomenon. He's more popular than Swiss on cheese. The guy has his own ice cream flavor, for goodness sakes. And he's humble and eager to please.
Ah, said Isaiah. Now I see the problem. You've drawn an erroneous conclusion. You think Jeremy Lin is the answer, Jim. But Jeremy Lin, I'm afraid, is an illusion.
An illusion,
Dolan cried, eyes popping out, face breaking out in a sweat. Relax, my friend, said Isaiah. Please don't do something you might later regret.
Regret, cried Dolan. Get out of here, Isaiah. Get out and never come back.
Isaiah laughed. I'm a ghost, my friend. I'm resistant to mortal attack. And as your official ghost of Knicks basketball future, my time is now set to expire. I have to say, you've hurt my feelings a bit, Jim. You've even implied I'm a liar. But I've decided I'll let bygones be bygones. In favor of one simple proposal. I'm here for you, Jim. I'll do whatever you like. I'm completely at your disposal. In return for that, just hear me out. Just listen to my ghostly prediction. Linsanity has no future, my friend. Linsanity is pure science fiction. Linsanity is sugar water that the fans insist on drinking. A substanceless illusion shared by a mob. Linsanity is wishful thinking. Jeremy Lin is a nobody, Jim. He's nobody. So here's what I'm banking on. By the time the winter snows melt in Minnesota, Jeremy Lin, my friend, will be gone.
Jeremy Lin gone, thought Dolan. Whatever was that supposed to mean? And with that, Ghost Isaiah abruptly vanished in a foul yellow cloud of benzene. Whatever Isaiah knew about the matter, this much Dolan fully knew. Jeremy Lin was a stand-up guy, reliable, loyal, and true. Jeremy Lin would never abandon the Knicks. For that, there could not be any doubt. So what possibly could ever transpire in the future to cause Jeremy Lin to opt out? Oh, somewhere in the multiverse, in a parallel world like ours, all is lightness, grace, and sunshine, newborn puppies and daffodil flowers. The New York Knicks are the champions. Jeremy Lin, the hero. The U.S. Congress is widely admired. Unemployment has shrunk down to 0. The Beatles are back together again. Simon and Garfunkel, still a pair. Credit default swaps never go bad. Jeff Van Gundy still has his hair. Oh, somewhere in this parallel world, with Elvis and Jimi Hendrix alive, Jeremy Lin's knee didn't blow a gasket, and the Knicks didn't go down in 5. But in our corner of the multiverse, things didn't quite work out that way. Omari and Carmelo, they returned to the team. The Knicks continued to play. Linsanity had now evolved to a new and unprecedented phase. No longer a local New York concern, it was now a global craze. Each time Lin thundered down the court and put increasing stress on his knees, each move he made carried the hopes and dreams of 1.3 billion Chinese. It was as if Lin carried the weight of the planet on his wiry yet delicate frame. So it came as no surprise when he felt the funny twinge in an otherwise ordinary Thursday night game. And so it all came sputtering to an end, a fizzle rather than a bang.
The MRI said meniscus tear, and so the fat lady sang.
I want to say I'm sorry to the fans,
Lin said,
and apologize to my team. You've all been more than wonderful. For me, this has been like a wonderful dream.
But for Dolan, it wasn't so dreamlike. It was all too urgent and real. For a while he sat there stunned and dazed, unable to think or feel. He kept racking his brain, wondering what had been his mistake. When suddenly an angry-looking ghost appeared, shouting, "This whole blasted thing is a fake!" "George Steinbrenner?" said Dolan. "What are you doing here?"
"The other ghosts were busy today," explained George, "so they asked me to appear. Besides, my presence makes perfect sense, Jim. Allow me to explain how it does. I'm no ghost of present, future, past, Jim, but rather the ghost of never was. My job as Ghost George Steinbrenner is to set the situation straight. As far as your chances of winning championships, Jim, listen up, Jim. The odds, they just aren't great. In fact, to be more specific, Jim, your picture is decidedly bleak. In fact, you're pretty much standing there holding the proverbial paddle, Jim, without the proverbial creek."
"But Ghost Coach Holtzman said we could win it all," Jimmy said. "Ghost Clyde said our future was bright."
"Hogwash," said Ghost George Steinbrenner, making no attempt to be polite. "Balderdash, humbug, twiddle, twaddle, and bunk. Your problem is you're delusional, Mr. Dolan. Your problem is you're drunk. Your problem is you don't know your problem. And your problem is your team system. Your problem is you took too many shots, Jim. Your problem is you missed them, Jim. Your problem is you're too sentimental, Jim. Jim. The problem is old-fashioned vanity. Jim. Your problem is you put your belief in utterly foolish nonsense
Like insanity.
Jim. Your problem is, as Woody Allen says, and here's the thing to remember. Jim, never join a club that would accept you as a member. Never marry a woman, Jim, who views you as a handsome winner. Because we all know a restaurant can't be any good when you, Jim, can get a reservation for dinner. But I think you get my point, Jim. So allow me to skip to the centrality. Sometimes the dream, Jim, is considerably better than the actual, bona fide reality. By that, Jim, I mean the dream of Jeremy Lin. Here's a lesson for us all to share. Take some time, Jim. Enjoy the ride, but don't ever expect things to be fair. Oh, somewhere in the multiverse, the good side always wins. Jeremy Lin re-ups with the Knicks. The Lehman Brothers suffer for their sins. But ultimately, you need to follow the money and look for the deepest pockets. And there you see the Lehman Brothers enjoying themselves in $41 million houses out there in the Hamptons. Jeremy Lin, he signed with the Rockets. Yes, those Lehman Brothers, all of them, they're out there in the Hamptons. While Jeremy Lin signed up with the Rockets.